The Warrior's Last Mission. Commander Ryan Graves sat in the dark cockpit of his stealth ship, staring at the glowing blue planet below. The HFY homeworld, a fortress of war, a place no human had ever infiltrated and lived to tell the tale. His mission was clear: capture the HFY royal alive. Not kill, capture. That was strange. The United Earth Forces usually wanted these aliens dead. They had been at war for decades. Why did they suddenly want a hostage? Ryan had learned long ago not to ask too many questions. Orders were orders. A voice crackled in his earpiece. "Commander, we are in position. Your entry window is 2 minutes." Ryan tightened his gloves and checked his weapons. He was leading a 5-man squad. Some of the best soldiers Earth had to offer. They were ghosts in the dark, trained to move unseen. "Move in," Ryan ordered. Their small drop pods detached from the main ship and plunged toward the planet like silent meteors. The HFY's defense grid was strong, but their technology couldn't detect something this small. Ryan's pod slammed into the ground. He kicked the hatch open and stepped onto the cold stone of the alien palace. Massive towers loomed above him, their surfaces covered in strange glowing symbols. The air smelled of metal and fire. "Team, report," Ryan whispered. One by one, his squad confirmed they had landed safely. The mission was going smoothly. Too smoothly. Ryan had a bad feeling. The team moved quickly through the palace corridors. Their black armor blended with the shadows, making them invisible. They avoided patrols, using short-range scanners to track their target. Then they found her. Inside a heavily guarded chamber, behind an energy barrier, stood the HFY princess. She was younger than Ryan had expected, maybe in her early 20s by human standards. Unlike the monstrous warriors he had fought before, she looked almost fragile. Her silver skin shimmered under the dim light. Her glowing violet eyes were full of fear. Ryan hesitated. Why was she locked up in her own palace? Before he could think further, his squadmate whispered, "Commander, we have a problem." Ryan turned. The hallway behind them was empty, but something felt wrong. Too quiet. His instincts screamed at him. "Ambush!" Ryan shouted. The walls exploded with blaster fire. Red energy bolts tore through the air as HFY soldiers swarmed the corridor. They were waiting for them. Ryan ducked behind cover, firing back. His squad fought hard, their training kicking in, but the enemy knew they were coming. "Fall back," Ryan ordered. "Negative," his second-in-command shouted. "We're surrounded." One by one, his men fell. Screams filled his earpiece as plasma bolts burned through armor. It was a slaughter. Ryan gritted his teeth. He couldn't let the mission fail. He turned toward the energy barrier. There had to be a way to break it. The princess suddenly pressed her hands against the glass, her eyes locking onto his. "You must take me away from here, human." Her voice was soft but desperate. Ryan hesitated for half a second. Then he pulled a small EMP grenade from his belt and threw it at the control panel. The barrier flickered, then collapsed. The princess stumbled forward, free at last. Ryan grabbed her wrist. "Move." They ran. Plasma blasts scorched the walls around them. More enemy reinforcements arrived, chasing them through the palace. Ryan's ship was a kilometer away. But they wouldn't make it at this rate. "Commander, do you copy?" A voice called through his earpiece. It was his pilot, Captain Holt. He was still in orbit. "Get us out of here," Ryan shouted. "I'm bringing the ship in. 30 seconds." 30 seconds felt like a lifetime. Ryan and the princess raced through the final corridor. The palace doors were in sight. Beyond them, he saw his ship descending, its side hatch already open. Then a massive figure stepped in their way. General Karthos, the HFY's deadliest warrior, 7 feet tall, covered in black battle armor. His blade-like arms crackled with red energy. Ryan stopped, heart pounding. "You will not take her," Karthos growled. The princess trembled. "Ryan, if you don't leave now, we'll die." Karthos lunged. Ryan barely dodged, rolling across the floor as the alien warrior's blade slashed inches from his face. He fired. His bullets bounced off Karthos's armor. No time. Ryan grabbed a smoke grenade, threw it to the ground, and pulled the princess through the smoke. They burst through the palace doors. The ship was there. The ramp was down. Ryan pushed the princess inside and leaped after her. "Go, go, go," he shouted. Captain Holt hit the thrusters. The ship blasted off just as a wave of enemy fire erupted behind them. As they soared into space, alarms blared. "Ryan," Holt said, "we've got a problem." Ryan turned. "What now?" Holt pointed at the radar screen. A fleet of Selver warships was already waiting for them. Ryan's stomach dropped. They had walked into a trap, and now there was no way out. The princess's secret. The ship shook violently as energy blasts hammered its shields. Red warning lights flickered across the cockpit, alarms blaring. "Shields at 40%. We won't last long," Captain Holt shouted, gripping the controls. Ryan gritted his teeth, scanning the radar. A fleet of Selver warships surrounded them, their massive battlecruisers forming an unbreakable blockade. They had walked into a trap. The mission was already a failure. His entire squad was dead. And now he was stuck with a fugitive princess, a damaged ship, and no escape route. Ryan turned to her, the Excelvar Royal he had risked everything to capture. She sat on the cold floor of the ship, breathing hard. Her silver skin shimmered under the emergency lights, her glowing violet eyes scanning the screens. She didn't look scared. She looked determined. "Talk," Ryan demanded. "Why the hell are your own people trying to kill you?" She met his gaze, her voice steady. "Because I know the truth." Ryan frowned. "What truth?" The ship lurched again as another blast struck. "Not now," Holt shouted. "We're gonna die in the next 60 seconds unless someone has a miracle idea." Ryan's mind raced. There was only one option left. The wormhole. A few hundred kilometers away, a swirling anomaly hung in space, a natural rift in the galaxy's fabric. It was unstable, dangerous. No human had ever entered and returned. But right now, it was their only chance. Ryan grabbed the radio. "Holt, take us in. Full speed." "Are you insane? That thing could rip us apart." Ryan turned to the princess. "Will we survive?" Her expression was unreadable. "No one knows. No ship has ever passed through intact." Ryan exhaled. "Better than certain death." "Do it." Holt cursed but slammed the thrusters forward. The ship's engines roared, launching them toward the unknown. The Excelver fleet reacted instantly. Dozens of ships fired at once, their combined energy blasts screaming toward them. Ryan braced for impact. The ship plunged into the wormhole. Through the rift. Ryan had expected pain, chaos, death. Instead, there was silence. For a few endless moments, everything turned dark. No sound, no gravity, no time. Then suddenly, light. The ship shook violently as it was spat out on the other side. Ryan gasped, his ears ringing. The cockpit was still intact. Holt was still in the pilot's seat, breathing hard. "We made it," Ryan muttered. Holt checked the sensors. His face paled. "Commander, I don't know where we are." Ryan turned to the main screen. His breath caught. The stars outside were wrong. The familiar constellations were gone. They weren't anywhere near known space. They had gone beyond the mapped galaxy. And they were alone. No Excelver ships. No human beacons. Nothing. Ryan turned to the princess, his patience wearing thin. "Now talk. You said you know the truth." "What truth?" She looked at him, her voice quiet but firm. "The war between our species. It's all a lie." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "What the hell are you talking about?" She took a deep breath. "There is something controlling the Selver Empire, something ancient, something that feeds on war." Ryan folded his arms. You mean your emperor? She shook her head. Not the emperor. The thing controlling him. Ryan frowned. That's impossible. She met his gaze. Then tell me, why do my people fight? Why does your species? Do you even know how this war started? Ryan hesitated. He had studied the war for years. No one knew its true origins. The conflict had always existed, a cycle of attacks and counterattacks. Silara leaned forward. There is a parasite, a mind-consuming entity that has ruled the HFY for centuries. It infects our leaders, spreading war across the stars. It needs conflict to survive. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. You're saying, your emperor is infected? She nodded. And it's spreading. It won't stop with us. It will reach your world next. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, trying to process. Why should I believe you? She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Because that's why they locked me away. I found proof. The HFY Empire isn't real anymore. It's just a tool for something worse. Ryan stared at her, his instincts screaming at him. Was she telling the truth, or was this some elaborate manipulation? Before he could answer, Holt's voice broke the silence. Commander, you need to see this. Ryan turned to the radar. His blood ran cold. A signal, a human distress beacon. But that was impossible. There were no human ships in this part of the galaxy. No colonies. No records of anyone ever traveling here. Ryan exchanged a look with Silara. Who the hell is out here? He muttered. Silara's eyes darkened. Maybe someone who never came back. Ryan clenched his jaw. Whatever was waiting for them, it wasn't going to be friendly. Escape into the unknown. The ship drifted in the silence of deep space, surrounded by unfamiliar stars. The glowing blue pulse of the mysterious distress signal blinked on the radar, calling them toward something that should not exist. Ryan Graves stood by the cockpit window, his jaw tight. The weight of Silara's revelation still pressed on him. A parasite controlling an empire. An endless war feeding something ancient. It sounded impossible. And yet, here they were, lost beyond the galaxy, running from an entire alien fleet. Commander, we need to decide, Captain Holt said, glancing up from the radar. That distress beacon is human. That means there's a chance someone. Asterisk, or something. Asterisk is still out there. Ryan took a slow breath. If there was even the slightest chance that survivors were stranded in this unknown space, he had to check. Take us in, he ordered. The engines hummed as Holt adjusted course. The ship turned, gliding toward the ghost signal that had no right to exist. Behind him, Silara stood silently, her glowing violet eyes locked on the main screen. You recognize this system? Ryan asked. She shook her head. No, this is beyond any star chart I've ever seen. That didn't help Ryan's unease. What the hell was waiting for them out here? The ghost ship. Minutes later, the source of the signal appeared on their scanners. Holt let out a low curse. You're gonna want to see this. Ryan leaned forward. His stomach dropped. A massive derelict ship floated before them. An old Earth battleship. Its steel hull was battered, the insignia of the United Earth Forces barely visible under layers of burn marks and ice. Ryan's pulse quickened. That's impossible. The ship's model was over 50 years old. The UESS Valkyrie, a warship from humanity's early battles with the HFY. It had been declared missing in action. But here it was, far beyond known space, its dark hull lifeless except for the weak pulsing beacon. Ryan's instincts screamed trap. Do we dock? Holt asked. Ryan hesitated. There was no logical reason for this ship to be here, but something about it felt wrong, like an old wound that had never healed. We go in, Ryan said. Full weapons, masks on. If something's alive in there, I want to know what. Boarding the Valkyrie. The docking process was slow. Their ship locked onto the derelict's hangar, its doors grinding open for the first time in decades. The interior was a graveyard. The moment Ryan stepped inside, his boots echoed through the empty halls. Everything was dark, except for the flickering emergency lights. The air was stale, cold. Ryan's grip tightened on his rifle. Stay alert. They moved in formation, sweeping the corridors. Debris floated in zero gravity, scattered tools, broken helmets, shattered glass. And then, the first body, a human corpse, mummified in its suit, floated against the bulkhead, its faceplate shattered. His name tag read Lieutenant Harris. Ryan swallowed hard. No signs of a fight. No gunfire. Just dead. Holt muttered, "What the hell happened here?" Then Silara spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "This ship didn't die from war." Ryan turned to her. "Then what?" She pointed. "The walls." At first, Ryan didn't see it, but when his eyes adjusted, his stomach churned. There were scratch marks. Hundreds of them. Deep gouges in the metal, as if something had tried to claw its way out. Holt swore under his breath. "That's not human." Ryan's heart pounded. He motioned forward. "Keep moving." The captain's last message. They reached the bridge. The control panels were dead, but a single console still flickered weakly. Ryan pressed a few buttons. The old system sputtered to life, its screen glowing blue. A final, recorded log entry began playing. A weak voice, barely a whisper, filled the room. "This is Captain Jonas Reeve of the UESS Valkyrie. If anyone finds this, run. Do not stay here. Do not trust what you see. We did not drift into this place. We were taken. They are inside us. They took my crew. They wear our faces, but they are not us. The parasite, it is real. If you hear this, it's already too late." The message cut out. Ryan's hands clenched into fists. He turned to Silara. "You knew." She didn't flinch. "I didn't know about this ship, but I knew about them." Ryan took a slow breath, forcing himself to think. If the parasite was real, if it had been here long before humanity even knew about the XLVR, then this was bigger than a war. This was something ancient, something that had already touched Earth. Holt's voice broke through the silence. Guys, we have a problem." Ryan turned. Holt was staring at one of the old security monitors. It showed the hangar they had just come from. Something was moving. A figure, a human figure. Ryan's blood ran cold. It was Lieutenant Harris, the same man they had found dead in the hallway. But now he was standing upright. His suit was still shredded, his helmet still broken. But his body twitched unnaturally, his head snapping toward the camera. Then, in slow, jerky movements, he started walking toward them. Ryan raised his gun. "We're leaving. Now." Holt didn't need convincing. They ran. The halls behind them creaked. The corpses were moving. Ryan barely made it to the docking hatch before he heard screams. Inhuman, distorted. He slammed the emergency release. The airlock sealed shut just as something slammed into the door from the other side. The last thing Ryan saw before the ship pulled away. Lieutenant Harris's face, grinning through the glass. A new nightmare. As they soared away from the ghost ship, Ryan sat in silence, gripping the armrest. The UEF had covered this up. Humanity had encountered the parasite before. And lost. Silara broke the silence. "Do you believe me now?" Ryan exhaled. "I don't have a choice." Holt cursed. "So what now?" Ryan looked at the stars ahead. "We find out what we're really up against, and we end this." The war wasn't about territory. It wasn't about survival. It was about something far worse. Ghosts of the past. The ship sailed through the black void, silent and weightless, but inside the cockpit, the air was heavy. The discovery of the UESS Valkyrie changed everything. Humanity had encountered the parasite before, and it had lost. Ryan Graves sat in the pilot's chair, replaying Captain Reeves' last words in his head. They are inside us. They wear our faces, but they are not us. He exhaled, glancing at Silara. She was seated across from him, arms crossed, her violet eyes distant. She had tried to warn him, and now he believed her. "How long has this thing controlled your people?" Ryan asked. Silara looked at him, her voice quiet. "Long before I was born. My father, the Emperor, was once a great leader. But something changed. The wars became endless. He stopped being my father and became something else, a puppet." Ryan frowned, and no one questioned it. They tried. She swallowed hard. But those who did disappeared. Ryan turned to Holt. "How long before we reach a safe point to regroup?" Holt shook his head. "Define safe. We have no idea where the hell we are. And we just left a cursed ghost ship full of walking corpses. So yeah, safe is a relative term right now." Ryan's fingers tightened around the armrest. He didn't blame Holt for being pissed. They had barely escaped. And now, there were bigger questions. If this parasite had reached humans before, had it already infiltrated Earth? A sharp beep from the console pulled Ryan from his thoughts. "Incoming transmission," Holt muttered. "Encrypted, but it's old, real old." Ryan leaned forward. "How old?" Holt ran a quick scan. His face paled. 50 years. The same time the Valkyrie vanished. Ryan and Silara exchanged a look. "Play it," Ryan ordered. The screen flickered. A grainy video appeared. A man in a UEF officer's uniform. His hair was disheveled, his face gaunt and pale. If anyone finds this, it's already too late. Ryan's stomach tightened. "We weren't the first to come here. We thought we were chasing the enemy. But the truth is, we were led here. Baited. The war, the battles, it was never about power. It was about feeding them. They are older than us, older than the HFY. They were here before any of us knew what war was. And we are just another meal." Static filled the screen. Then, one final whisper before the message cut off. "They don't just consume bodies. They take memories, thoughts. If you hear this, run." The screen went dark. Holt let out a slow exhale. "Yeah, I don't like that." Ryan's mind raced. The Valkyrie's crew hadn't just died. They had been consumed. Their thoughts, their memories, their very essence taken. It wasn't just about war. It was about erasing history. He turned to Silara. "If we don't stop this, how long before there's nothing left?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Ryan already knew. The unknown station. A new signal appeared on the radar. Holt frowned. Another distress beacon. Ryan's gut twisted. No, this is different. The readings showed a massive space station hidden in the shadow of a distant planet. Unlike the Valkyrie, this structure was fully operational. Ryan narrowed his eyes. Who the hell is out here? The station's code was human, but modified. Someone had been changing it over the years. Silara studied the screen. It's not abandoned. Ryan stood. Then we're docking. Holt groaned. Why do we keep walking into creepy abandoned places? Ryan ignored him. If someone was out here, they might have answers. And Ryan was tired of running blind. The forgotten scientists. The ship docked smoothly, but the silence inside the station was eerie. The halls were clean, too clean for something abandoned. Ryan's instincts screamed trap. They moved cautiously, weapons ready. Holt took the lead, his rifle aimed at the dimly lit corridor. Then, a voice. Drop your weapons. Slowly. Ryan turned. A group of humans stood at the far end of the hall, dressed in old UEF uniforms, but something was off. Their eyes. Too dark, too empty. Ryan's grip tightened on his rifle. Who are you? One of them, a woman, maybe in her 60s, stepped forward. Her name-tag read Dr. Monroe. She studied Ryan and Silara with a calculating gaze. "You shouldn't be here." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "You've been out here for decades, haven't you?" She nodded slowly. "We were part of a classified research team. We were sent to study the parasite, to understand it." Ryan exhaled sharply. "And?" She didn't answer. Instead, she gestured for them to follow. Ryan and his team exchanged uneasy looks but moved forward. The lab they entered was a nightmare. Cryopods lined the walls, each containing humans, but not humans. Their faces were twisted, warped, frozen in terror. Ryan's breath hitched. "What the hell is this?" Dr. Monroe's voice was emotionless. "Failed experiments." Ryan turned to her sharply. "Experiments?" She nodded. "We thought we could contain it, study it, maybe even use it." Ryan's blood ran cold. "You wanted to weaponize it." She didn't deny it. "But we were wrong. The parasite doesn't just kill. It learns. Every time it takes someone, it becomes them. It grows smarter, stronger." Silara's voice was quiet but firm. "And now," Dr. Monroe looked at her. "Now, it's awake." Ryan's stomach dropped. A distant alarm blared. Holt's hand tightened on his rifle. "That's bad, isn't it?" Dr. Monroe's face remained unreadable. "You don't understand. It's been sleeping, dreaming." Ryan's heart pounded. Dreaming about what? She finally looked him in the eye. "About us." The alarms grew louder. Something was moving. Ryan's instincts screamed run. But he already knew. There was nowhere left to go. The betrayal. The alarms were deafening now, their shrill cries echoing through the labyrinthine corridors of the station. Ryan's pulse raced as he sprinted down the hallway, the sound of his boots pounding against the metal floor a stark contrast to the eerie silence that had filled the station moments before. Something was wrong. The faint whispers of human voices could be heard now, but they weren't quite right. They were distorted, as if being filtered through a layer of static. Ryan skidded to a halt in front of a door that slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, Dr. Monroe stood at a control panel, her face illuminated by the pale glow of the screens in front of her. "Dr. Monroe," Ryan shouted. "What the hell is going on?" She didn't turn. Her hands were moving rapidly over the controls, and the strange, distorted voices seemed to grow louder. "You shouldn't have come here, Ryan," she muttered, almost to herself. Ryan's stomach tightened as he stepped forward. "What are you talking about? We need to get out of here before it's too late." She finally looked up at him, her face pale, her eyes sunken. "It's already too late." Her eyes flicked to Silara, who stood behind Ryan, her expression a mix of confusion and fear. Ryan turned to her, and their eyes met for a split second. Silara's fear mirrored his own. Dr. Monroe smiled faintly. "You've been running from the parasite for so long, but it's not the only threat here. The real danger isn't what you think it is. The parasite doesn't just take bodies. It takes minds. It changes them." Ryan's mind raced. "What the hell does that mean?" Monroe's lips twisted into a grim smile. "It means I've already made my choice. I made a deal with them." Before Ryan could react, the air around them seemed to shift. The lights flickered, and for a split second, Ryan thought he saw something move in the corner of his eye. A dark figure, standing in the shadow. His eyes snapped to it, but when he blinked, the figure was gone. Silara's eyes widened. "No." Dr. Monroe's hand hovered over a red button, and in that instant, Ryan knew. She had betrayed them. The moment the button was pressed, the station shook violently, a low rumble filling the air as massive gates began to close, cutting them off from the exit. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. "Get down," he shouted, throwing himself to the ground as a blast of energy rang out, the walls around them vibrating from the impact. They were trapped. The distorted voices came again, louder now, like a chorus of whispers. Ryan scrambled to his feet, eyes scanning for an exit. But all around them, the walls were closing in, and something was waking up. Do you think I didn't see it coming? Dr. Monroe's voice was calm, almost soothing as she turned to face them. You should never have come here, Ryan. The parasite is only a part of the story. It was never the true power. Ryan's mind raced. What the hell are you talking about? You've been working with the parasite this whole time. Dr. Monroe shook her head. No, Ryan. It's not about the parasite. It's about what the parasite serves. Ryan's heart stopped. Serves. She nodded, her eyes glinting with an unsettling calm. The parasite is the servant. The true power behind it all is the entity that controls it. Who? Ryan's voice was a whisper. Who controls it? Dr. Monroe's lips parted, and for the briefest moment, Ryan thought he saw something dark behind her eyes. It's not human, she said softly. It's not even alien. It is ancient, older than your species, older than the stars themselves. Silara stepped forward, her eyes filled with a mix of rage and sorrow. You knew all along, didn't you? Monroe didn't flinch. I knew, and I chose to help them. The parasite promised me immortality, control over everything. Control over what? Ryan demanded. Control over everything you've ever known. Dr. Monroe's voice was cold now, her eyes narrowing. Humanity. The Quetzalver. The galaxy itself. Everything will be mine. The words hit Ryan like a punch to the gut. He stepped back, his breath coming in ragged gasps. She had sold her soul. She had chosen power over life itself. You're insane, Monroe. She smirked. Not insane. Just awakened. The parasite and I, we've made a deal. And now it's time for you to die. All of you. Before Ryan could react, the walls began to close even faster, the metal sliding shut like a tomb. Panic rose in his chest as he realized they were running out of time. Silara, get ready, Ryan shouted, grabbing his gun. Silara nodded, her expression fierce. We need to stop her. If she's made a deal with the parasite, she's as much of a threat as it is. Ryan didn't hesitate. He turned to Monroe. You've sealed your fate. Monroe's eyes glittered with dark satisfaction as she stepped back, her hand held high. The lights in the room began to flicker, and the whispers grew louder, filling the room with a low, vibrating hum. Ryan felt something shift in the air around them, something unnatural. It wasn't just the parasite. It was something deeper, older, far more terrifying. You'll see, Dr. Monroe whispered. The galaxy is about to change forever. The walls were almost closed now. Ryan and Silara had only moments to act. There was no escape. Only one choice. Silara, now. Ryan yelled. Silara sprang into action, darting to the control panel. She'd seen how it worked. She'd studied it, and she knew, with a terrifying certainty, what had to happen. With one final push, she slammed her hand down on a switch. The room went black. The warrior's ultimate sacrifice. The station plunged into darkness, the hum of machinery replaced by an eerie, oppressive silence. Ryan's eyes adjusted slowly, picking out faint emergency lights blinking in the gloom. He didn't need to see clearly to know they were running out of time. Silara, he whispered harshly, what the hell did you do? She stood by the control panel, her hand still on the switch. Her glowing violet eyes reflected faint streaks of light from the flickering console. The only thing I could. I've cut the station's power. For now. Ryan gritted his teeth, and that's supposed to help us. Monroe has the parasite on her side, and now we're sitting in the dark while this place collapses around us. She won't get far, Silara said firmly. I know these systems. She'll have to restart the main generators if she wants to keep control. That gives us time. Time for what? Ryan barked, his voice a growl in the still air. To stop this, Silara replied. Once and for all. Ryan's mind raced. Monroe's betrayal ran deeper than he had imagined. She hadn't just given herself to the parasite. She had willingly become its pawn, its puppet. And now, with the power down, The parasite would be forced to reveal itself. The ancient entity, hidden for so long, would have no choice but to act. And that was exactly what Silara was counting on. The heart of the station. They moved swiftly, their boots silent against the metal floor. Silara led the way, her knowledge of Selver technology guiding them through twisting corridors. Holt trailed behind, muttering curses under his breath, his weapon at the ready. Ryan kept his rifle steady, scanning every shadow. Every corner felt alive. The walls seemed to breathe, shifting imperceptibly in the dim light. The parasite was awake, and it knew they were coming. "Commander," Holt muttered, "this whole place feels wrong." Ryan didn't respond. He could feel it too. Something was watching them. "Almost there," Silara said. They emerged into a massive chamber at the station's core, a cavernous space, its walls lined with alien conduits and glowing panels. In the center stood a cylindrical structure, pulsing faintly with a sickly green light. "The core," Silara said. "That's where it's hiding." Ryan's pulse quickened. "And how do we destroy it?" Silara hesitated. "You can't. Not by force. Not by any weapon you have." Holt let out a frustrated growl. "Then what the hell are we supposed to do?" Ryan turned to Silara, his voice low. "Explain." "The parasite isn't just a creature," she said. "It's a network, a hive mind. It feeds on more than flesh. It consumes memories, thoughts, entire identities. To destroy it, you'd have to sever its connection to the rest of the hive." "And how do we do that?" Ryan pressed. Silara's eyes met his, a flicker of sadness crossing her face. "Someone has to make it vulnerable. By letting it in." A deadly gamble. Ryan's mind reeled. "You're saying we need to let it infect someone?" "It's the only way to break its defenses," Silara said quietly. "Once it takes over a host, it's fully connected, vulnerable. But the host won't survive." Holt cursed again, pacing. "That's insane. You want us to volunteer to become that?" Ryan said nothing, his jaw tight. He'd known from the start that this mission was a one-way trip. Silara stepped closer. "I've seen it before. When a host sacrifices itself willingly, it destabilizes the hive. The network fractures. It's a brief window, but long enough to overload the core." "And you're just now telling us this?" Holt snapped. "There was no other way," Silara said. "Monroe's betrayal forced my hand. If we don't act now, the parasite will consume this entire station. And everything beyond it." Ryan exhaled slowly. This was it. The final move. He looked at Holt, then at Silara. "Get to the control panel. Prep the overload. I'll handle the rest." Holt's eyes widened. "You can't be serious." "I said move." Ryan barked, his voice cutting through the tension. Silara hesitated. "Ryan." "Just go," he said, his tone softening. "You know it has to be me." Silara's expression was unreadable. For a moment, it looked like she might argue, but she didn't. Instead, she nodded and turned to the console, her hands working quickly. Holt gave Ryan a long, hard look. "You better know what you're doing." Ryan offered a faint smile. "I never do." The sacrifice. As Silara and Holt worked on the console, Ryan stepped toward the core. The green light pulsed more intensely now, as if the parasite could sense what was about to happen. He placed his hand on the surface. It was cold, yet somehow alive. He felt a pull, like invisible tendrils reaching into his mind. Ryan closed his eyes. He thought of his squad, their faces, their voices, the ones he had lost. He thought of the war, of humanity's endless struggle against the Selver, of the lives ruined by an enemy no one understood. And now he finally understood. This wasn't just about Earth. It wasn't just about the Selver. This was about everyone. "Do it," he said, his voice steady. The parasite surged into him, a flood of alien thoughts and memories crashing into his mind. Ryan's body trembled as he fought to hold on. He could feel it trying to consume him. But he didn't let go. "See Lara," he gritted out. "Now." "See Lara" hit the final command. The core's lights flared, the green glow turning blindingly bright. The parasite screamed, not in sound, but in Ryan's mind, a deafening psychic wail as its connection shattered. Ryan's body burned, his mind unraveling. But he held on. He gave everything. In that moment, the parasite's grip on the hive broke. The entire chamber shook violently as the core began to collapse. Lara and Holt ran toward the exit, but Ryan stayed behind. He had known from the start that this was a one-way mission, and now, as the chamber erupted in light, he felt peace. The parasite's presence faded. The screaming stopped. The hive was gone. And so was he. The aftermath. Lara and Holt barely made it back to the ship before the station crumbled behind them. They watched from orbit as the massive structure imploded, taking the parasite's core with it. Holt leaned against the console, his face pale. He actually did it. Lara said nothing, her expression unreadable. She stared at the empty void where the station had been. Ryan's sacrifice had saved them all. But at what cost? She turned to Holt. He'll be remembered. Not just by us. By everyone. Holt nodded. Damn right he will. As the ship moved away from the debris field, Lara whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. "Thank you, Ryan." And with that, the ship vanished into the stars. The final stand. The void left by Ryan's sacrifice was more than silence. It was a gaping absence, one that neither Holt nor Lara could fully acknowledge as the ship drifted through the empty sector of space. They had escaped the parasite's core, but the battle wasn't over. Lara stood by the viewport, her violet eyes fixed on the debris of the destroyed station. In the distance, flashes of energy lit the blackness, a fleet of Selvair warships rallying in the wake of the parasite's severed control. "They're regrouping," Holt muttered, his fingers nervously tapping the edge of the console. "What do we do now?" Lara didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned to face him, her voice steady. "We finish what Ryan started." Holt raised an eyebrow. "We blew the core. The parasite's network is shattered. What else is there?" "There's always a risk it can rebuild," she said. "We've cut the head off the beast, but the infection is still out there. Fragments of its influence remain in every Selvair ship, in every controlled mind. If we don't eliminate the remnants now, it'll grow back, stronger, more cunning. We have to end it here." "We? You mean me and you?" Holt asked, his voice tinged with sarcasm. "In this tiny, half-busted ship." Lara turned to the navigation panel, inputting coordinates. "Not just us. There's a Selvair faction. Rebels who opposed the parasite long before I was born. They've stayed hidden, biding their time. If we find them, we can unite them. With their help, we'll turn the tide." Holt frowned. "You really think they'll listen to you? Last I checked, you're a royal. Royals don't exactly inspire trust these days." Lara's lips tightened. "They'll listen if I tell them the truth. About my father. About the parasite. About what Ryan gave his life for." The Alliance. Hours later, the ship approached a cluster of asteroids hidden in the shadow of a dying star. Here, Lara said, was where the rebels had established their base, far from the prying eyes of the Selvair Empire. As they drew closer, small defense drones appeared on the radar. Holt held his breath as automated weapons tracked their approach, but the ship's codes, ones Lara had uploaded, seemed to grant them passage. "Guess they're not shooting us yet," Holt muttered. They docked in a hangar carved into the largest asteroid. As the ship powered down, Lara and Holt descended the ramp, greeted by a small group of Selvair rebels. Their leader, a tall, battle-scarred ex-Selvair named Vikara, stepped forward. His eyes narrowed as he took in Lara's royal insignia. "Why should we trust you?" he demanded. Silara didn't hesitate. Because I know the truth. I know what's controlling our empire. And I know how to destroy it for good. Vikara folded his arms. Your kind has lied to us for centuries. Why would now be any different? Daughter, he said, his voice a guttural echo. You have returned to serve me. I serve no one. Silara replied, her voice steady. You are not my father. You are a puppet, and I am here to cut the strings. The Emperor raised a hand, and the room filled with shrieking tendrils of green energy. The rebel soldiers scattered, firing wildly. Silara and Holt dove behind a column as the throne room became a battlefield. It was a brutal fight. Silara using her knowledge of the ship's systems to disrupt the Emperor's power, Holt providing cover fire. Slowly, they weakened him, cutting off the parasite's influence piece by piece. Finally, Silara landed the killing blow, plunging a blade deep into the parasite's core within her father's chest. The Emperor let out a final, distorted wail before collapsing. The tendrils of green energy vanished. The parasite's fragments were gone. The galaxy was finally free. Aftermath. The rebel fleet celebrated their victory, but it was bittersweet. Ryan's sacrifice had made it possible, and his name was spoken with reverence. Silara stood on the bridge of the rebel flagship, looking out at the stars. This is only the beginning, she said. Now we rebuild. Together. Holt nodded. What do we call this new alliance? She smiled faintly. We call it hope. As the fleet set a course back toward the known galaxy, Silara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The war was over, and Ryan Graves would never be forgotten.